What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. We're back after Christmas holidays. I hope you all had a great holiday season, New Year, all of that. But we're back. We're back with another Simply Sessions. Nico here to fill us in on all the latest and greatest, what's going on in Bitcoin. Plenty to cover, but I'm glad to have you all back. Welcome to the show. Let me know in that live chat how you guys have been doing, what you've been up to over holidays, everything. But of course, this is, and by the way, did you guys catch the Christmas special? If not, go back. It was it was the longest show I've ever done. It clocked in at 6 hours and 40 some odd minutes. Insane. Anyways, it was a blast. Go back and watch it. A lot of great panels. It was a lot of fun. But of course, this is live. Anything can happen. So I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
If you have not already, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things. Super important. Little like button just below the channel right now. Smash that. Share this on whatever socials you may be on. And of course, subscribe. Help me in my mission. I want to hit 100K subscribers by the end of this year. I was doing the math. If we keep up the same pace, I can do it before the end of the year. So help me get there. Hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your Simply Session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we bring in Nico, let's take a look at where we are in the market right now. I am pulling up timechaincalendar.com. Also, simultaneously, I am pulling up the live chat overlay. Everything from now on that you type into the chat will be live for the world to see, for better or worse. So let's dive into it. Timechaincalendar.com. We're sitting at $44,333 per coin. A single US dollar will grab you 2,256 sats. In terms of fees, we are down a fair amount, double digits. You don't get to see that very often these days. We're sitting at 57 sats per byte. Next block, mempool is purging anything south of 23 sats per byte, looks like. And in terms of Bitcoin mined, 19.59 million of them. That's 93.29% of the entire supply. Shout out to sponsors of the show, hodlhodl.com. If you're stacking sats and you have some priorities in mind, like peer-to-peer trading, instant self-custody, no KYC, this is the place to be. You can sign up with just an email address. Once you're there, you choose a currency payment method and an amount, and you can start browsing offers immediately. Also this year, they're adding both Lightning Network and Liquid Network, so you can make your choice of how best to transact. We've also got peer-to-peer trading, or lending rather, with no rehypothecation. Check them out. Links are below. Now, of course, when you stack some sats, you're going to want to secure them with some of the best hardware on the market. I love Coldcard. I love what they're doing. The Mark IV is my go-to for now. But of course, I pre-ordered the hell out of the upcoming Q, which looks amazing. I also have all their other goodies, tab signers, sats cards, block clocks, you name it. So if you want to reserve the Coldcard Q or pick up anything else that I mentioned, head to coinkite.com, use code BTC Sessions for, I believe, 8 or 9% off. I never know these things. Anyways, you get a discount at checkout with code BTC Sessions at coinkite.com. Cedar. Of course, backups are important. This is a steal option, one of the most robust and beautifully designed on the market to keep your seed phrases secure from the elements like fire, water, corrosion, you name it. They have these full starter sets with mallets. They are robust as hell. And you can, of course, back up your seeds in their capsule and disc design. If you need to swap out a seed, just get some more discs. Very cheap to replace. Anyways, check them out. Links are down below depending on where you are shipping to. Last couple here, Nunchuck has you covered with your assisted multi-sig needs. Very easy to set up on your mobile device with things like the tap signer, Coldcard, and plenty of other hardware options. Once you're set up, you hold 3 keys, Nunchuck holds 1, and you have full baked-in inheritance planning so that your sats get to your next of kin if anything should happen to you. If you want to check out my full tutorial, you can head over and Find it on YouTube and head over to nunchuck.io to check them out. And finally, shout out to Start9, your sovereign computing solution. These guys have plug and play devices to host your Bitcoin stack and your sovereign computing stack. So things like Bitcoin Core, Lightning nodes, mempool.space, join market, also files, passwords, photos, Nostr relays, and clients, as well as AI tools and plenty more. They have everything running from the server Lite, which is your entry level, all the way up to what I'm running, which is the server Pure or Pro. And that thing is an absolute beast. So check them out, start9.com. And with that, enough of my rambling. Let's get Nico in here so we can start chatting news. Dude, it is good to see you. How was your holiday, man?
Bro, it was terrible because our tips got desynced, and you know, we had so much to catch up on and talk about, and I missed you, bro. So it was very bad because I started getting withdrawals. I started looking at, I would go on a binge of tutorials.
Happens.
Just to get refreshed. I know, but my holiday was great. I got to like actually go to the beach. And like I wouldn't wake up at 3 in the morning and check my Slack. So that was like a very refreshing. I don't think I've felt that way in years. So yeah, in that sense, it was great. It was really great.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad to have you back. We started the show late because we were just catching up with each other backstage. I think more of that's needed, but for everybody that's been waiting, I guess we may as well dive into the news, what's been going on, all of that. So I'll bring up your screen here, but what's been going on, man? What is top of mind as of late?
So let me share the correct window. So I apologize about that. So to give a little bit of context, we always talk about this on Simply Sessions. There's this context. There's this concept in political philosophy. It's called the Overton window, and essentially what it is the acceptable window of discourse within a population, right? So on the very top, you have unthinkable, you have radical, you have acceptable, you have sensible, you have popular, you have policy. Our goal as Bitcoiners is to shift that Overton window. So concepts like ending the central bank or, you know, separating money from state, it isn't so radical anymore. It starts to become acceptable. It starts to become sensible. And this isn't something that is not achievable. This is something that has been proven in Argentina. I said this as a joke tweet. I said, now we have a template, guys. All we need is for hyperinflation, and then bada bing, bada boom. You get a libertarian candidate who is chainsawing central banks down to the ground elected, right? So anyways, I wanted to bring that up before I played this video of Dave Smith. He's a very famous comedian. And he went on this very popular YouTube. Ben, you're a YouTuber like me, so you know what this channel is. Valuetainment. Great content, good podcast as well. And Dave Smith went on Valuetainment, and he said the quiet part out loud. He said something that we all know in our hearts as Bitcoiners, but unlike the political parties, right, whether it's the liberals or the conservatives, we actually have a solution, and that solution has nothing to do with voting. Maybe it is something to do with voting, but not voting as how people conceptualize voting, but voting by taking self-custody of your money. That's how you can actually change the system. So anyways, I'll let you guys, let's play the clip and we'll talk about it.
What we need today in the United States more than anything is the separation of money and the state, the separation of banking and the state. This is the cause of so many of our problems right now, is that the currency is controlled by the government. This allows us to spend way beyond our means to pull things off that we could never pull off if the government wasn't just printing money out of thin air. The entire idea that we're going to go around and occupy foreign countries for 20 years in the Middle East with nothing to show for it. Try doing that if you had to actually tax the people. Try gaining popular support for that if every month people had to pay for the war in Afghanistan. That thing would have been over by Christmas of 2001. And the same thing with the lockdowns. I mean, try maintaining the lockdowns if you couldn't just print up trillions of dollars in 2020. There's no way it could have been done. The Federal Reserve and the money printing is the lifeblood of the Leviathan. That's what we need to attack. And what we need today.
So, I mean,
Damn.
like, Okay, fine. He says all these things, but there's no solution. Bitcoiners actually have a solution. That solution is Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, bro. What are your thoughts? I mean, he sounds like a Bitcoiner, but he didn't mention Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's previously mentioned Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen him touch on it plenty of times. It seems like he gets, I mean, he gets the problem clearly, and I feel like he's on to the solution, if not hasn't already figured it out. I guess I haven't seen enough of his like online interaction and tweets about on the subject to really know like how in tune with the solution he is. But like, all we need is a lot of people to understand the problem as he described, and you'll have more than the necessary number to make that shift.
100%. 100%. So yeah, I mean, it also falls down to not only us content creators, Ben, but really to everyone listening in the audience. Like, you are the frontline soldiers in this information narrative trench warfare. Like, it really falls down to you to educate the masses, to not allow people to get distracted by the left and the right dichotomy and the liberals and the conservatives it's because it's just a horse and pony show. It really is. And just to really wake people up to like, look, your economic woes are not caused by the liberals or the conservatives. It is literally caused because of broken money. And I think that if we do this, if we wake enough people up, I think that liberals, conservatives, communists, the people on the other side, whatever, they're all going to put their differences aside. I really believe that. Maybe it's fucking naive of me to believe that, but I really believe that a lot of the differences are caused because of the unintended consequences of broken money. So I truly believe in my heart that if we fix the money, we fix the world.
Yeah. It's not that there aren't disagreements. It's that those disagreements are, when in the act of trying to resolve them, there are much less dire consequences, and they can go much, not nearly as far as they go today, where it's just perpetual war, and you can just these cataclysms go on forever, and people further divide. I think it becomes much more nuanced. I think it becomes much more, in a Bitcoin standard. The interesting part is there's a lot of different people that see Bitcoin as solving different problems. And in fact, there's a lot of different, not ideologically aligned people in terms of like on a political spectrum that all see Bitcoin as the solution. So in that instance, I don't care if somebody that has completely different ideals than me sees Bitcoin as the solution, because them liking it and using it and helping it go further actually helps me and what I view as the problems being solved. So, hooray. If you don't like me and my ideas, but you like Bitcoin, then great. I love that you love it.
100%. It's almost as if you're talking about aligned incentives,
Yes.
And what's crazy is what happens when you align the incentives. All of a sudden, these people that you would think would never get along, or are just like, you know what, you're different than I am, but it's okay. We can coexist.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah. Anyways, so in Mother Nature, Ben, there's these laws, right? Like the law of gravity, right? You can't change it, and it is impossible. I can't think of any other laws, but there's these laws. Gravity is, right? There's this other law that perhaps a lot of people don't know about this law, but it's the law of the inverse Jim Cramer. It's never broken. It's a fact of life. It is something that we must accept.
Since the dawn of time, I think.
Since the dawn of time, right? And Jim Cramer, he said something positive about Bitcoin. And I think you commented, because Ben, you knew what was coming. This is, by the way, Sophie's account. My computer broke. But you knew what was coming, Ben. You knew. And I'll play the clip. I'll play it in 1.25 times the speed.
All right, ahead of the open, which is about 2 minutes from now, take a look at Bitcoin. Above $45,000. That would be the first time since April of 22. Since April of 22, you can see, and obviously it had a great year last year.
Yeah, we got that clearing event of sandbank and free
Yeah.
going down, and that seemed to make people feel, you know what, we're safe. And then the ETF.
ETF, we continue to wait
endless
for the
ETF.
Right.
And yeah, look, it's very rare that I've ever seen that this way. It could be a waiting for Godot. I mean, no, there won't be an ETF. But I do think that the people who are in it for that are going to use that as a chance to sell. But this thing is, you can't kill it.
Ooh, can't.
And the late Charlie Munger, who was so brilliant on so many things, was blind to this. Now you can say, wait a second, maybe it's all going to come
Jamie
around.
Dimon has not.
Okay, so can't kill it. And what happened? See this giant dump right here? This literally happened the day after he said that. Now, to be fair, it did recover and blah, 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 blah. But once again, the law of inverse Jim Cramer is never broken. Okay, so what actually caused that dip? Because you have to connect the dots with other things.
Hold on. Can I interject with one thing?
You can interject whenever you want, Ben.
All right,
Yes.
I have to. I started off the year with a fucking banger of a tweet because I made this meme and I can't not share it on the show. So it's Jim Cramer and he said,
I saw this.
"That's a nice asset you've got there. Would be a shame if I were to speak positively about it." So, anyways, this thing got 411,000 views,
Dude.
because the inverse Kramer, it's like the new "It's Gonna Be May." Like it's equally as prolific in my opinion. Inverse Kramer is just universally accepted as like the next big meme. So anyways, shout out to everybody that gave that
Dude,
share.
it is just it's so effing crazy, man. It's so crazy. Okay, so what actually caused this? Like, what was the deal? Like, why did this drop? And like, what's the significance of it if the price of Bitcoin recovered the way it did? And we'll get to all that. So there's this publication called Matrixport. We'll get to who owns it in a little bit. But they go on to say Matrix on Target has been bullish against consensus expectations in 2023, predicted earlier in the year that Bitcoin could reach 45,000 by Christmas. We expected that if all the SEC requirements for Bitcoin spot ETFs were fulfilled, Bitcoin could rally towards 50,000 by the end of January 2024. While we have seen frequent meetings between the ETF applicants and staff from the SEC, which resulted in the applicants refiling their applications, we believe all applications fall short of a critical requirement that must be met before the SEC approves. This might be fulfilled by Q2 2024, but we expect the SEC to reject all proposals in January. The current 5-person voting commissioners leadership critical for the ETF approval of the SEC is dominated by Democrats. SEC Chair Gensler is not embracing crypto in the U.S., and it might even be a very long shot to expect that he would vote to approve Bitcoin spot ETFs. An ETF would certainly enable crypto overall to take off, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this was the article that was released. This is the FUD that made the price drop. It was either that or the law of the inverse Jim Cramer. Who knows? I personally believe it was the law of the inverse Jim Cramer. But hot or not, the Space Cat did some digging. And it seems like they A/B tested these goddamn articles, which is absolutely hilarious, right? So here it's like Bitcoin spot ETF approval imminent, Bitcoin to jump to 50,000. Why the SEC will reject Bitcoin spot ETFs again.
Same publication on the same day.
Same day. And then Nick Can't Mine, who's head of news and the genius behind the Bitcoin magazine, Twitter, by the way. Amazing meme. Cointelegraph intern. Matrix for an intern. So absolutely hilarious. For anyone who's not in the know, Cointelegraph released a fake article that it was approved, and that actually was the catalyst for the recent Bitcoin price run up. Now, of course, all this turned out to be complete and utter BS. Here's Eleanor Tourette. She works for Fox Business, and I just clicked on her profile. And she said the SEC is holding meetings today with the exchanges, NASDAQ, CBOE, New York Stock Exchange, to finalize comments on the N19B4Fs submitted by the Bitcoin spot ETF issuers. Nick again, once again, trolling. Matrix port intern in disbelief. Absolutely hilarious. And here's Joe Carlosari. Yeah, he contributes. He's a lawyer and he contributes a lot to legal input on Bitcoin Twitter. And he said, just a reminder, folks, the comment period doesn't end for some spot from ETF applicants until midnight on January 5th. Although the ETF applicants may know earlier, very unlikely the public knows anything before next week. And then we have a TechCrunch reporter, shout out Swan Media, and she said, quote, heard from sources extremely close to the matter that the Bitcoin spot ETF is going to be approved by the SEC for multiple firms' applications, expecting something tomorrow. So after everything that we just went through, I could tell you this. No one has any idea what the fuck is going on.
100%.
But the market is really excited, and just depending on a FUD article or a bullish article, it literally moves the price like 10-15%. And that just tells me for a fact that no one has any idea what's going on, and this is all speculation. But this doesn't affect you if you just stay humble, stack, and stay solvent. Ben?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. Like, it's fun to talk about everything that's going on, because it's like, it is kind of like it for individuals that are just stacking sats, staying humble, putting your DCA away over time. Like, this does not materially affect your behaviors. I would hope it does not affect your behaviors, because you've got a longer time horizon than shit that's going to happen next week and trying to speculate on it. But it is super fun to kind of look at it, because in the grand scheme of things, it is kind of like a seminal moment in Bitcoin that the suits are like, oh shit, this has value, we better pile in. So at the end of the day, though, like, don't buy the ETF. Don't stack sats, stay humble, do what you were doing. And nobody has a real clue as to what's going to happen, because the number of times that people have said, like, this is for sure happening on this day, or this is never going to happen, or whatever. I mean, we just went through 4 different examples of people, 2 of them from the same source, telling you what's going to happen in either direction. Yeah, I mean, anybody who tells you anything about what's going to happen in the future is likely pulling it out of their ass. So I don't know. Nothing has really changed, but depending on the yes or no that we get in the coming days, there will likely be a temporary move of Bitcoin rapidly in one direction, and that will not matter at all, because in general the direction over a longer time frame is up and to the right.
Yep, exactly. So I think you hit the nail on the head, dude. Like, this is entertainment. If you're staying humble, stacking sats, like, this doesn't affect you, right? Like, you're just looking at this and you're like, oh, this is crazy. This is the Bitcoin world, But again, like, no one has any idea what's going on, but it sure boy does get people to click on videos and click on tweets and get likes and get engagement and all this stuff. Everyone's waiting for this to get approved, and I just don't think anyone. I don't think anyone actually knows. Like, I just don't believe that, right? Yeah. Like, I would say, okay, it's around the corner, but like, I don't believe that either, right? Let's see. When it happens, it happens. Anyways, so this is the first episode of the year. And because it's the first episode of the year, we never speculate on Simply Sessions, but we have people that are going to speculate for us. And then, Ben, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. So, and again, I just want to preface this with, no one has any idea where the price of Bitcoin is going to be tomorrow, the day after, or a year from now. All we know is that historically it has gone up and to the right, like Ben said. That disclaimer being said, a lot of people are throwing their price predictions for 2024, what they expect. And at the top of the list, we have the Chad Saylor, which is crazy. Like, he's even fallen into all this. And he put out a poll. And he said, in 2024, how high do you expect Bitcoin's price to soar? 34% of the poll said 100,000. 27% of the poll said 200,000. Simply put out a poll about 3 days ago. I typoed this. I meant to put 2025. But the question was, what will be the next cycle peak in 2024, 2025? 26% voted 300K and 26% voted 150K. Now, moving on to this, because I think this is like a common theme that we're hearing this cycle. And I think American HODL really hit the nail on the head, which is, dude, what are you thinking when you say Bitcoin can go to 1 million this cycle? Don't you know you were just wrong? You said 500K last cycle. Why should anyone take you seriously? What makes you think it's going to 1 million? What indicators are you seeing? And it's Squirtle, the Pokemon, playing a saxophone. So absolutely hilarious. And then I'll end it with this, which is cycle theory isn't backed by anything. This isn't enough data to infer anything from these patterns. And you have the 80, you have the left of the bell curve, three greens, 1 red, and then you have the super smart people saying 3 greens, 1 red. So anyways, to start off the year with a little bit of spice, Ben, I am a big believer of the cycle theory. And, those are some crazy predictions, bro. I think 10x from here or 20x from here is just fucking inconceivable. So yeah, I mean, look, not to put any words in our mouth because we don't do that. But according to this poll by Saylor, 100K, and according to this poll by Simply Bitcoin, either 300K or 150K. So what are your thoughts on all this?
I honestly, so now after years of being around Bitcoin, I like the idea of under promise and over deliver. So I like the idea of expecting less and being pleasantly surprised with more. And so I do think that there's a number of things that are culminating that we haven't had culminating before. Number one, halving. Number two, ETF probably, like, even if it's not now, it's going to be at some point this year. Number three, the fact that we're coming out of fiscal tightening into rate cuts and easing, and probably more money printer go burr. There's all these things that are kind of happening simultaneously. So like the person that's trying to be conservative in my head is like, brace yourself for a disappointing upside and diminishing returns. But the bulltard in me is like LFG, multiple hundreds of K, all that kind of stuff. So I don't really know what to expect. And honestly, like, whatever I see more sentiment of, I'm inclined to believe the opposite.
The opposite, right? And what are we seeing the sentiment of this cycle, Ben? It's bearish. It's bearish AF.
Yeah. And keep it that way. Great. If people, like, in my opinion, people saying like 100K, 150K top that's basically like diminishing returns kind of cycle theory, right? Yeah. Like 2017 was insane. We went from $1,000 to 20 in a calendar year. 2021 was really not, I mean, we went from 20 to 68, 69, right?
It was the China ban. It was the China ban. They just ended the party.
And the diminished actual the removal of demand by FTX as well.
Yep, exactly.
It was like money was flooding in that was meant to buy Bitcoin, and they were just
and it
like,
wasn't real Bitcoin.
Check mark. Here's your ledger entry.
So I don't know if this is Knut Svanholm in the chat, but he did
go by. Yeah.
He did say something, and when Knut speaks, what are these predictions for ants? I'm sorry, I can't do the accent, but that is absolutely effing hilarious.
Where is it? I'm trying to find it now. Shit. There we go. There you go. There we go. Hey, Knut. It's good to see you, man.
Hey, Knut. So we now know where Knut stands. Okay. All right. So we won't do that for the rest of the year. We like to stick to the news and not the price prediction. Like the rest of a lot of content creators focus on that. Okay. Anyways, so this is another big deal. So just to kind of give everyone a bit of context, because without context, I think this is just a big nothing burger. We have the attack on self-custody. That's what's happening in the United States. That's what's happening in Europe. You're hearing these terms like unhosted wallet. I've never seen that word in the Bitcoin white paper. So it's made up. It's made by politicians that are really, really scared of individuals taking self-custody. Because if you take self-custody, the state can't just confiscate your wealth either via currency debasement or straight up confiscation easily. It makes it actually pretty difficult for them. So in the United States, Elizabeth Warren has gotten 20 senators to co-sign her bill that would effectively kill Bitcoin in the United States. It would kill your right to self-custody. It would make it illegal for you to write down 12 words, as crazy as it sounds. It would force miners to KYC the transactions, which is impossible. Elizabeth Warren knows that. So it would be a de facto ban on mining. And she has 20 senators. There's 100 senators in the U.S. Senate. She's gotten 20% of senators to sign on, and she's gotten both Democrats and Republicans. So I just want to preface it with that. But here's the thing about the U.S. The states have sovereignty. So just because something becomes law on a federal level, on a state level, that's not necessarily the case. A great example of this is the marijuana industry. So marijuana remains illegal on a federal level, but on a state level, it's actually legal in certain states like California, like Colorado. And those states have giant industries. There's very, very big marijuana companies, and they exist even though something is illegal on a federal level. So how do you protect the right to self-custody? What do? You put the right to self-custody into law. So I know Wyoming has passed this, and I know that Dennis Porter with the Satoshi Action Fund, he's been pushing this really, really hard on multiple states. So this is Missouri State Representative Phil, I'm not even going to pronounce that last name, Crystal Fanelli, introduced a groundbreaking bill as the Digital Bill of Rights. The legislation ensures individuals have the right to self-custody Bitcoin and eliminates state capital gains tax for Bitcoin transactions under $200. Now, here's the thing, guys. Why? The whole idea of paying capital gains tax on your Bitcoin when you're using Bitcoin as money, if you think about it, it's like, wait a second. So I'm being penalized because I'm choosing to use a better money. And now I have to pay the difference because your money is designed to lose purchasing. It kind of exposes the racket, right? Yeah. Here is into the details. I'm going to try not to read the entire thing because it's very long. But Dennis Porter breaks it down. He says, pro-Bitcoin bill protecting your rights to self-custody, mine, and access Bitcoin has officially been introduced in the state of Missouri. As promised, Satoshi Action Fund is winning political battles for Bitcoin adoption in state legislators across the United States. What does this bill do to advance Bitcoin in the U.S.? Prohibits the state from barring you from using self-custody secure Bitcoin, prohibits the state from barring you from purchasing, saving, or transacting Bitcoin, prohibits the state from barring you from mining Bitcoin, prevents the state from discriminating against Bitcoin miners, eliminates state capital gains tax applied to $200 Bitcoin transactions, protects your ability to use Lightning Network and other layer 2 solutions, guarantees your sovereign ability to run a node. Once Missouri passes this bill into law, it will lead the nation in protecting Bitcoin rights. Now, here's the thing. DeSantis in Florida passed a bill that that made CBDCs illegal. So you have to understand, from the political perspective, the more these laws get passed on a state level, even if the federal government is dumb enough to pass an anti-Bitcoin legislation, that doesn't necessarily mean that in individual states they're going to enforce that law because it's against their laws themselves, right? And the marijuana industry is an example of that, right? And I'm sure there's other industries as well that are examples as well, examples of that as well. So this is very interesting how this is playing out. It's almost as if the smaller jurisdictions are standing up for Bitcoin, and the big centralized jurisdictions that most benefit from fiat money are the enemies of Bitcoin. But this political battle is just fascinating. Like how this is playing out is really, really interesting.
I love the fracturing of this. I love the move towards, I mean, and the United States was built on the premise of more local governance, like state by state. But I love seeing a bit of a reclaiming of that, and a push to kind of get out from under the boot of the feds. And I mean, we're seeing not in this context, but we're seeing similar things kind of play out in Canada with various provinces here as well. But again, the marijuana industry is a perfect example in the States. Even such that, I mean, Jack Mallers, his impetus for creating Zap and then subsequently Strike was to solve the problem of his parents running a dispensary in Colorado, but not being able to have banking, having to deal with cash all the time, and the excessive cost of having to secure it because they could have no bank account for the business. So he basically incentivized people to in store have something that where they could be exposed to dollars, but then the business could receive Bitcoin on their end. Like what more impetus could you need for that, right? Like it's such a great thing to see. So yeah, I'm all for this. Individual states saying, "Fuck you," we're going to protect ourselves.
100%, and it's beautiful to see, and it's what you said about how the U.S. is structured. Like it's really cool how this is playing out, and we'll see how it turns out. Anyways, I do want to end it with this. Michael Saylor, absolutely just Michael Sayloring, and said Michael Saylor commences plan to sell $216 million worth of MicroStrategy shares. Goes on to say the executive chairman, Michael Saylor, began to sell $216 million worth of company shares on Tuesday, according to a regulatory filing with the SEC. The document shows that Saylor intends to sell 310,000 shares. These shares were awarded as stock options in 2014 and were set to expire in April 2024. The sales plan was disclosed. The sales plan was disclosed a couple months ago, with Saylor saying during MicroStrategy's third quarter earnings that, oh no, I clicked on the thing. Holy cow. A lot of things. Anyways, that he plans to sell 5,000 shares per trading day, commencing on January 2nd and continuing over 4 months, subject to a minimum price condition, et cetera, et cetera. Now, but here's the video, okay? And you have to understand something about the video. This is a very serious interview, okay? Like, this isn't just like Nico, Ben, you could be serious when you try, but this isn't like Nico or Opti or like, like just going in there and just like a Bitcoiner fucking slavery and blah, blah, blah. No. He has to remain like calm, collected. This is how things are. Things are very serious. This is a very serious question that I'm being asked. But boy, dude, does he put his giant schlong on the table when he responds. And it's such a badass response. So let's check it out.
And the first question is for Michael. The 10Q discloses that Michael entered into a 10b5-1 plan to exercise MicroStrategy stock options. Can you please provide further color on the plan and the thought process?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that question. I was granted a stock option in 2014 with respect to 400,000 shares, which is going to expire next April if I don't exercise it by then. For almost a decade now, at my request, the company has only paid me a $1 salary, and I've chosen not to be eligible for any cash bonuses. Exercising this option will allow me to address some financial obligations as well as to acquire additional Bitcoin for my personal account. Under my trading plan, I plan to exercise and sell 5,000 shares on each trading day, beginning on January 2nd, 2024, and ending on April 25th, subject to a minimum price condition. This means the sale will take place over almost 4 months. If you'd like more details about the plan, I would refer you to the 10Q. I continue to be optimistic about MicroStrategy's prospects and should note that my equity stake in the company after these sales will remain very significant.
So the key there is I'm gonna buy Bitcoin. Biatch.
He's like, well, for my personal position, I have some financial obligations, and also I'm just gonna buy a fuckload of Bitcoin.
That's what he said. Like, that's what he said in corporate speak. Literally, that's what he said in corporate speak. I'm just letting you know, gentlemen, I'm gonna buy an F ton of Bitcoin with the shares. And then like he just back to seriousness. But dude, that was just like the biggest boss move I've ever seen. And shout out to the Chad Saylor. But anyways, that was today's news, Ben. Hope we covered a lot, man. A lot of stuff happening this week in Bitcoin land, and happy to see you. The Christmas show was amazing, bro. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was great, guys. If you haven't seen it, check it out and subscribe to Sessions channel so he can break 100K in 2024. And love you, Ben. Thank you so much for having me, guys. This was your Simply Sessions. I'll see you next week, Ben.
See you, man. Awesome. And everybody stick around because we are going to blast through a few tech updates here. Of course, if you're here and you're not subscribed to Simply Bitcoin, please do. They cover the news 6 days a week and they're killing it every single day. But with that, let's dive into what's been going on. I wanted to highlight this. It's actually from Jameson Lopp. He created a tool, but I'll give context with a quote here from Jameson Lopp. Since Bitcoin transaction fees are based not on the value being transacted, but upon data size of the transaction, it can become very important to ensure that your wallet balance has not been composed of many low value UTXOs. Given the recent rise in transaction fees, an economically unspendable UTXO is a UTXO that costs more to spend than it is worth. To this end, I'm releasing a new tool for calculating the cost of spending a given UTXO, which is really cool. So this tool here, basically you choose what is the script type that you're using. So things like Taproot or legacy addresses, whatever. You select it. You select how many signatures required, as in like, is it a multi-sig, so on and so forth. And then you calculate based on this. So this is like a one-of-one transaction. Okay, so the size of this transaction would be 158 bytes. What would the fee rate be, or what would the cost be based on certain fee rates? And it says right now, 100, sometimes it can exceed 100 bytes. 100 sats per byte would be the recommended fee. So like right now, recommended fee, next block, once it loads, give it a second. Okay, 46 sats per byte. Okay, so how do I look at that on this chart? Well, basically I just roll up here and I can see, well, in and around 50 sats per byte, any UTXO below 7,900 sats is effectively unspendable, meaning that I will spend more in fees to send it than I would in actually, like, I'll spend more in fees than the thing is worth. So I'm basically just giving away sats to miners with no economic impact anywhere else. Now, as these fees move on up, let's take a look. You can see that once we get north of 100 sats per byte as a base fee, any UTXO below almost 16,000 sats is effectively unspendable, or you're going to spend the entirety of it to miners. We've seen fees as high as 600 and some odd sats per byte earlier this year, when we've had crazy, like, when the JPEG people were getting a little wild here. What's that going to cost you? Or what? That's basically a UTXO of almost 95,000 sats is no longer spendable in that environment at that time. So that means that you need to be cognizant of the size of pieces of Bitcoin sitting in your wallet. It wouldn't matter if you had 1 million sats sitting in your wallet if each one of those pieces of Bitcoin was comprised of 100,000 sats and you had 10 of them, because the data that each UTXO adds in that transaction makes it unspendable. So you'd send 1 million sats of 10 UTXOs of 100K each, but each UTXO is effectively costing you 95,000 worth of fees. And on the other end, you're not going to get very much of that. So consolidation becomes a factor, and then using things like Lightning and Liquid come into play depending on what you need and what your trade-offs are and what you're going to use it for moving forward. So that's why I was kind of excited to see the drop of this, which is Aqua Wallet. This is an on-chain, and I'm going to call it layered Bitcoin wallet. And what that means is, by default, you're dealing with, when you're not dealing with on-chain Bitcoin, by default, you're dealing with Liquid. But you can receive and send both Liquid and Lightning transactions. They just auto get swapped if you're dealing with Lightning. And so what this allows you to do is you're utilizing the confidential transactions, the 1 minute blocks, and the much lower fee rates, especially in current time, on Liquid. And so you're maybe spending a couple hundred sats for every transaction that you do, instead of potentially, when fees get up to 600 sats per V byte, 95,000 sats for a transaction. That would be insane. So it allows you to interact with that. And then you also, if you load in there, you can swap from on-chain to Liquid natively in the wallet. And there's a whole bunch of different stuff there. For me, it makes things a lot easier because I'm using Liquid right now as kind of my interim layer, where I try to default there and then decide what to do next. Do I want to swap into Lightning for my spending wallet, or do I want to build a bit of a balance in Liquid until it's above, say, 1 million sats, and then peg out on chain into my cold storage? So it gives me that kind of moment of like, okay, I'm in a form that is cheap to deal with, and then I decide where I'm going next. So for me, super awesome. It's just came out the other day. There's a ton of things that still need to be added. There's a ton of features that I would love to see. It is not yet open source, though. That is the intention here. So, limit your exposure. But the automation and the integration of all of these features that I was using through alternative apps and hopping around into a single place, for me, is very promising, because it makes a hell of a lot more sense for me to be in a single place and do all the things that I need to do in one app than to hop around. And this seems to be what this wallet is looking to do, and I'm excited about that. So anyways, play around. It is on the iOS store, and you can download the APK file on Android. It should be on the Google Play Store soon, and then just look for updates as they come. So yeah, very excited about it. Also, in the same realm, Francis Pouliot, this is an old tweet. Well, not the top one. He said, under construction with rapid progress. But this is an old tweet from November of last year. He said, in a high fee environment, it makes no economic sense to have a Lightning channel with less than 1 million sats. A non-custodial way to solve this would be have a Liquid Bitcoin wallet to accumulate small transactions with an LN swap service, which is what Aqua does, and convert to self-custodial Lightning wallet once you reach 1 million sats. And so he's basically building the exact same thing at the same time. Now, on the other side of different scaling solutions, given what we have right now, Fediman just had a new update. They said they're excited to announce Fediman 0.2 has landed. Huge milestone for Fediman, is now mostly feature complete. Federated eCash system development will be focused on backwards compatible improvements and bug fixes from now on. So that's super awesome. And coinciding with this, you had Mutiny Wallet say that they've now updated Fediment and multi-LSP initial support. So Mutiny is open source, non-custodial. Of course, the Fediman part of Mutiny is like a federated model, so people can onboard to Lightning without needing initial liquidity for small amounts until, again, you can then hopefully offboard onto your own dedicated Lightning channel with enough liquidity with a large enough size. So anyways, ending the year off strong. Over the last few months, we've been preparing our wallet for Fediman integrations. Today marks the first release of Fediman support, ready for alpha testing. The way we've gone about integration is so seamless and smooth over the edges. It is to seamlessly smooth over the edges that exist in self-custodial Lightning. Our hybrid approach will use a configured federation when needed. Otherwise, it uses self-custodial Lightning if it exists for the user. This helps things like channel reserves, channel minimums, high chain fees to get started, etc. So basically, they're attacking the issue of onboarding initially to Lightning and having to rely on just a singular custodian like Wallet of Satoshi. Well, now you can mitigate that rug pull risk by at least taking that single custodian risk and pushing it out to multiple custodians all in a multi-sig Fediman setup so that it would require multiple entities to rug pull you simultaneously and collude rather than just Wallet of Satoshi one day being like, yoink, arse. So, it's not perfect, but it's miles better than having a single point of failure. You now require collusion amongst multiple entities to be rugged. And if you're minimally exposed and just building a balance until doing self-custody, I mean, to me, that's an acceptable trade-off until something better comes along. And I hope even better solutions do come along. But for right now, this is a meaningful improvement versus what most people were using on Lightning, which is Wallet of Satoshi. Okay, moving on. This is cool. Whirlpool unspent capacity surpasses 10,000 Bitcoin. This is the total amount sloshing around in Whirlpool using CoinJoin to help give yourself privacy on Bitcoin. So that is super awesome. From there, another privacy update. Mercury Layer is now code complete and available for testing. What is Mercury Layer? It is a new implementation of fully blinded state chains. And they have set up a public test server and invite anybody to try it out. State chains, I've done a video on this previously. They used to have something called Mercury Wallet. Basically, the way you can think about it is creating like a digital open dime. So like maybe, those little USB sticks from CoinKite where you can load up a specific amount. Nobody has the private key and you can physically hand somebody Bitcoin without being able to scrape it back later. Imagine a digital version of that and then being able to swap your digital open dimes between another person without any indication that it has happened on chain, effectively breaking the link between you and that Bitcoin, obtaining privacy on that Bitcoin because nobody knows who owns it or that any transaction has even taken place. And that's what this does. But now it does it in a censorship resistant way. So I'm very excited to see that. I'm going to have to play around a little with it, which I have not done as of yet. Okay, moving on. Try and blast through these. Oh, yeah, I already did that. Also, if you missed it, just prior to the Christmas show, myself and Nat, we did an air-gapped tutorial of the cold card. So I've done that before on my channel, but we did a joint tutorial together. We chatted all about how to air gap your cold cards. So if you're a fan of the first joint tutorial with Nat, where we did the plugged in, directly connected version, go check out this one because I was very happy to do it. And it was a lot of fun. And I think from the feedback I've gotten, a lot of people found it very helpful. Rounding out here, I'm going to take this. I just wanted to give a shout out to Consensus Network and their bookshop because I just received my copy of 21 Futures, which is very exciting. It's basically a bunch of fiction stories of potential futures in and around a Bitcoin standard. And I love the idea. I think we need more fiction stories in Bitcoin because it's such a unique idea to be living in, let alone speculating of where it could take us in the future. So I'll let you know how it is. Excited for the read. And then tomorrow, we will be doing, we're back for Why Are We Bullish? So I've got Rob Johnson, who's doing a film called Bitcoiners. He's been filming it for the last 2 years, and it is releasing this month, if I'm not mistaken. There's going to be some showings and everything, and you'll be able to find it and buy it online. I'm also having Samson Mao. I reached out because, again, Aqua, people have questions. So he was able to jump on along with Andrew Howard, who is also with Jan 3. And we're all just going to be getting bullish together in the new year. So very excited for that. So yeah, come and check it out. This is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. First, Why Are We Bullish of 2024. And hey, maybe we'll have some news by then. Maybe we'll have another interesting tidbit to chat about. And then besides that, I wanted to say I retooled my website. I've updated it. So I've kind of done a whole new slew of things here, updated events, put in various tools that I use, set up a whole new learning track that basically takes you through, hey, like best Bitcoin books to read, getting Bitcoin, all the different options that you may have, suggested first wallets, hardware wallets, multi-sig, running a node, additional skills like lowering your fees and adding privacy. So you can check through all of that and everything else that I've added on the website. And you can also sign up for the newsletter. And this is also where you can book me for one-on-one sessions. And if you want to do so, actually, I'll add this on the main screen here. There's a QR code that will take you directly to the website where you can book me for one-on-one sessions. So what would you use those for? That would be like, okay, well, I'm needing to get through, maybe you've looked at the tutorials and you just need that one-on-one hand-holding experience of like, walk me through this wallet, walk me through setting up a cold card, walk me through migrating from Ledger to cold card. Not saying that you need to do that, but maybe do that. Walk me through multi-sig or lightning or running a node or whatever it may be. Here to help. So if you would like to book me for one-on-ones, I don't have time for a lot of them, but you may be able to squeak in for a time if you take a peek. Either way, thank you guys for being here. Of course, tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, help me on my way to 100K. And of course, share this episode if you found it useful. Anyways, guys, that is it for me. I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. See you guys next time for your Simply session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.